What's the latest, everybody? This is Ronnie Flores with your co-host Ani and Ani in the In the Paint show, presented by Ballislife. Ani, we're on episode 112. We keep plugging along as COVID keeps plugging along, and the basketball season keeps plugging along, right? I mean, there's no stopping any of it. There's no stopping what we're doing. There's definitely no stopping COVID, and the basketball season keeps moving forward. Obviously, we still have some delays. We got a few games canceled and postponed here and there, but for the most part, games are going on, and it was a big weekend over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Obviously, it's traditionally a big weekend, probably the biggest weekend of the regular season, realistically, when you don't, especially in showcase type setting, players and teams from all over the country go to events, various events. Obviously, the two most famous ones are the Springfields. So Springfield, Missouri, Bass Pro, and Springfield, Massachusetts, where the Hall of Fame is, the International Hall of Fame, or the Basketball Hall of Fame, I should say, in Springfield, Massachusetts. So, what's your kind of recollection of those two events? And, obviously Bass Pro has just great attendance, great fan interest, and then obviously of the Hoophall.
Yeah, well, first off, you're absolutely right about the COVID and us, right? Like neither is COVID is gonna be here for a minute, and then we just keep rolling. So, but no, like my recollection from from both events, I mean, it's always been MLK weekend because not a whole lot goes on in Texas.
Sure.
You get that's really where I watch a lot of my basketball.
Yeah, watch games and stuff.
Yeah, just binge watch games and just watch and watch and watch, especially now that the games are on ESPNU, you can, or ESPN3 and stuff like that. Like now just being able to just sit in and watch, those games have been just been really good. I mean, next year I plan on going out there, but just to overall just to binge watch really good high school basketball games. That's just been the experience.
There's so many good games, like you said, and some of them are on ESPN Plus, ESPN3, whatever the official name of it is, and obviously ESPNU, and it's changed a lot. Obviously, I worked for ESPN for 5 years. I'm not really sure if you know all the details, but I worked there from about 2008 to 2012, 2013.
I didn't know that long.
Yeah, they were not really. We were not really at that time. The stream wasn't really to where we wanted it, meaning like we knew it was coming as a company. We did some, but like now it's pretty much almost TV quality. Or if it's not TV quality, you don't have a good stream. You know what I mean?
Right.
We've done some with Ballislife. We streamed some games, obviously the All-American game and some others, but so nowadays, like you said, the production of a stream is probably 1/5 to 1/6 of the production of a TV game. So, I mean, just that's going to be how it is in the future. And it's exciting to see where that's gone, over the years. And obviously you can see more players from around the country, you can see more good games. And obviously there was a lot of good games and there will continue to be, as we plug toward the playoffs. But, it was a big week and a big weekend. And we updated the Fab 50 rankings, including Monday's MLK. It's always a special edition because we include that Monday, because it makes no sense to release it on Sunday or Monday and then all the rankings are just blown up because on Monday everybody, another team wins. So you just go through Monday. I've done that. So I've done that for probably 15 years or so. But I see that the other rankers, the other pollsters do it as well now. So that's cool. I mean, I'm glad that they do.
Trendsetter.
Yeah, they're honest. It makes no, if you put out rankings on Sunday, they're a wash on Monday. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because there's a lot of big games on Monday. So
there's a lot of big games on Monday. So we'll go over that in a minute. But I want to get your high level take, kind of probe in the paint a little bit, just on a topic. Dr. King, obviously, he was assassinated somewhere, I believe, in Memphis, Tennessee, 1968. It's just so crazy. He was assassinated. Then Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy's brother, was assassinated like couple months later in Los Angeles. So it was turbulent time in America at that time. I know there was riots, there was things going on. So when you think of Dr. King, what do you think of? And then honestly, point blank, do you think all these events across the country do enough to really honor his legacy?
Oh, I think of Dr. King. I think of just a push for equality, right, and a push for African Americans to just to receive equal treatment, and the way he did it, and trying to be in a more peaceful manner. You really respect that, right?
Sure.
So like Dr. King is, he's a big part of.
Oh yeah,
let's do what we're doing today. So I would say like just the events. I don't think they do enough in really commemorating Dr. King or doing more. I would say this maybe when I was younger, when I would do watching, you saw talk more about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think now like this past weekend there wasn't a whole lot about him. Just talking about him and
big. Maybe these events have so big they've taken on a life of their own. It's not really
right. Like you almost, it's like you're doing the event because it's a 3-day holiday more so than it's in commemoration for what MLK is
for what this person did.
right.
To celebrate this person's life for sure. I'm with you on that. Again, I mean, you're running a basketball event. You don't want to kind of like kill. I guess like maybe beat a drum too much. So I understand that, but it's not really beating enough, like
right.
Not really much doing. So, you want to be cordial, but you also want to be, I guess, authentic. You don't want to make it seem like you're doing it just to say it and do things just to do it.
Right.
Like they don't fit what you're doing, but I kind of get that angle a little bit. But yeah, I think overall more needs to be done. Obviously, he means so much to a lot of Americans, especially as time goes by. I mean, it's just now it's going on 55 years, right? I mean, he hasn't been around longer than he lived. That's what's pretty crazy, Yeah.
Wow. It has been 55 years.
Yeah. He only lived to 39, I believe. So he just seemed much older. You know how the way he talked eloquently and like
how wise he was.
Sound like he was like 55 years old, but he wasn't. You know what I mean? Very interesting. So, that is just something that well, we continue to talk about that, but yeah, it's. I hope people out there. Obviously, we didn't just get to see a bunch of events. We concentrate on like 2 or 3 of them, but MLK games. But hopefully, people out there and the smaller scale ones are honoring him in some way. Because again, obviously the power of TV can do a lot to spread.
Absolutely, media has a lot of influence.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into it a little bit here. Hard in the paint. MLK weekend. You mentioned it. You called it on episode 111. You were like, no way, Camden's gonna go 3-0. Obviously, they were number 5 in the Fab 50. They go 1-2. Talk a little bit about that, Ani, and what you saw of the games that you watched. Camden, the Panthers, obviously they have a great team, but tough weekend for them, but doesn't mean they can't finish strong.
Absolutely. No, the Montverde game, Montverde just got on them early, had a quick start. Camden just really struggled. I would say like the physicality, especially in the paint, Montverde really took advantage of them. I thought just a slow start by Camden on Montverde, and you get Montverde a big lead early or just, momentum early, they're really hard to beat no matter who you are. Calvary Christian, but I thought in the Montverde game, they kind of came around a little bit. They got in the rhythm, and I don't think they lost by 12 or 14 points.
Yeah.
And then the Calvary Christian game, I mean, they just got punched in the mouth. I mean, Greg Glenn, Taylor Hendricks, who I'll talk about more, the 2023 kid, the French kid. I mean, they just really went after Calvary, was just really intercepting passing lanes, playing fast. I want to say Camden underestimated them. It didn't, but it just looked like they weren't prepared for that matchup.
Yeah. Now maybe think, in Camden's, you look at Camden and they have a 44-game winning streak. It ends against Montverde. So was it just, like you said, the preparation, or did they have a big hangover they had to get from Metro to Hoophall? I don't know how much that big of played a role. That was Thursday night. They play Saturday. Or they were just the better team won on that day.
Yeah, I just think the better team won on that day. I just think they weren't prepared. I wouldn't say that Calvary Calvary just brought it to them. I think Calvary showed that they're a lot better than, that they're a really, really good team, and they're a lot better than what people thought. So, but I don't think Camden was prepared for it. I don't think they're 20 points better than them.
I think the lead might have got up to 29 at some point.
Yeah, it did. So I just think it's just lack of preparation. A team that talented like Camden, they shouldn't be down on 20-something like any team in the country.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if they can play Montverde pretty close, they shouldn't be down, like you said. And then obviously they have another game Monday, so they got to come back. Now you're like, okay, guys, let's put it together. So they were able to put it together. Milton, and seems like Cyan Medley and DJ Wagner, their junior guards, played a lot better. I think Cyan had 22 points and DJ Wagner had 21 points. So, they stepped it up, they turned it around and trying to get off the snide a little bit. So to finish the weekend 1 and 2.
Right. No, they did. That Milton game was definitely a bounce back game. Played with more energy, like you said. Guard play was better. DJ Wagner was a lot better, just more consistent. Kind of had a rough showing the first 2 games, but I thought Milton was good bounce back. And Milton, we seen how they were the City of Palms, and they made a good run. Yeah, they made a good run. So for them to show good bounce back, because it's easy to, especially that Calvary Christian game. Yes. You know how this with those teenagers. It's just the Montverde game you're ready for, then you lose. Then the Calvary Christian game you lose, and then you got Monday game, and it's like you start, kids can start questioning themselves, right? And not just kids, staff could potentially. So for them to bounce back against a good Milton team, that was important. That was probably more impressive. That was the most impressive part of their win for me.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, things can go bad, especially after you won 44 and then you lose 2 in a row. So, again, and you can't, like you said, you can't discount Camden completely because Roselle's a good team. They won there. So Camden drops this week to number 16. They have to take a bump down, obviously, but they still got to be in front of Roselle. So, we'll see how that goes there in New Jersey and how they still got upcoming games. They got to play Sierra Canyon at Barclays. They still got some games that are tough that that they can show that they can bounce back and finish with the higher rating. So
absolutely,
that was very interesting. Calvary Christian, you mentioned them, how good they played. So Calvary Christian, ironically, Camden beat Milton. Calvary Christian's only losses to Milton. So figure that, it's like, what are the chances of that? But that's just how it worked out. But, give Calvary Christian some credit. They're up to 19 they went from 19 to 11. So they're up, 8 spots this week. So they're knocking on the top 10, and they really are that good. Like you mentioned, maybe people are a little surprised because there's 3 really good teams that are part of the state association there in Florida that play for state titles. They don't all play in the same division, but you got Calvary, Dr. Phillips, and the 3rd team, Orlando Christian Prep. So like we've talked about them before. Those are really good teams. So I mean, just give you a sense of how good Calvary's played. They beat number 14 North Little Rock. They've beaten Camden 16. They've beaten Greensboro Day, number 23. And they've beaten Orlando Christian Prep, number 27. So, like you said, that's a pretty hell of a season. And to get that big win on national TV, everybody's seen you, and you're beating Camden by, 20 points?
Right.
Hey, Allen and that group of players, wow, kudos to them. They're having a great season. Let's see how they finish. And they honestly are putting themselves in the Geico Nationals mix because the Florida teams that win a state championship are eligible for that end of the season event. Obviously, we'll go over that as it gets closer, as we get more results, but who we think might make it. But we're still a little bit, maybe about a month off from that. But Calvary's definitely making a strong statement there. Ani, what stood out to you most about the games over the weekend? It could be at Hoophall, it could be at Bass Pro. Besides what we just discussed, any player or any thing stick out to you there?
Man, I would say just I just enjoy watching just a high level basketball. Sure. One thing I would note, like Keontae George performance against Montverde. Obviously, he was player of the game, has 17 and 3. I really loved how he just kind of competed on the defense end. Keontae's motor has really increased since since joining IMG. Obviously, his body's changed. He's just he's trying to contribute in other ways, which we always know he's a prolific scorer.
Sure.
But him doing the other things just have really, really impressed me. Taylor Hendricks, I'm gonna say it. I just really enjoyed watching him play that Camden game. Just seeing at his size, his versatility offensively, as a stretch guy at 6'10", and just how he just impacted the game. And I mean, I was really, really impressed with him. South Florida got a steal.
Sounds like South Florida got a great player. So I see what you're saying. Some guy that just kind of catches your eye, or it has a big performance, and that was for them and for him. So it's great to see a guy like that get more and more national recognition. Obviously, we knew Calvary was going to be good in the preseason. Maybe not exactly this good, but I'm with you on that. Let's move forward to the Fab 50 and talk a little bit about that. I said, obviously all the results on Monday. So we had Camden losing, which we already discussed, and Sierra Canyon lost in the championship game of the Bass Pro. And I don't know if you got to see much of that, but Sierra Canyon dropped, their second game. They lost to Duncanville, which is at number 2. Duncanville obviously still rolling at 19-1 as we record this podcast on a Tuesday, but you'll know there are more results coming in.
I think they're handling their opponent pretty good right now.
I think they're playing tonight, so they might be playing a district game and rolling on to the next win. But so they lose, meaning 5-6. So that's Camden and Sierra Canyon. So Corona Centennial takes that spot. Now Corona Centennial's only lost to Duncanville too. Again, there wasn't much difference, I don't think. Now maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you think something like there wasn't much difference in Centennial losing to Duncanville and Sierra Canyon losing to Duncanville.
No,
like one of them did much worse or better. Like it
was about the same.
Comparable. Yeah, it was comparable. You know what I mean? So Centennial goes up, and now Sierra Canyon drops because they lost 72-65 in that championship game to a pretty young Paul the 6 team. They do got one senior that kind of leads them. McDaniel, small point guard. It was been around for 4 years. Nasir Doug McDaniel, he's done a great job. They have some good young players, and they have a good team. So they dropped to number 10, but they've actually split. They don't fall much further because they split with Paul the 6. They beat him in the Iolani Hawaii tournament in the championship game. So they have a split. So they've done some. They've had some good wins. So I want to get your take. Obviously, Amari Bailey, top 5 guy, signed with UCLA. He played in this tournament, and he hasn't played in a lot of games, but he came back. What did you kind of see there as they were trying to make a comeback? They kind of got down to double digits, and I'll give you my take, but I want to see what you think about it, because they got a lot of talent, but they didn't really put it together to play at their maximum peak in that game or in that
Yeah, that game was again. I just don't think they just didn't look as prepared. You can tell. Let me make sure I say it's John Paul.
The 6th.
The 6th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul the 6th. Yeah.
Paul the 6th. Okay, I was gonna make sure I was saying it right. Paul the 6th really came at him. I love how McDaniels played and how the team, they just got after it. But like you said, Sierra Canyon has a compilation of talent from Kanjani Wright, Bronny James, Amari Bailey is now in the fold. I like how Amari was in transition, just using his athleticism, able to go both ways. You can see where it's with the talent level, it's him as an offensive creator. But I did think I don't think there was much of a rhythm and much of a flow with them, especially that game. Guys, you could see a little bit of more selfishness than they did in the previous games. I thought there was better ball movement in those previous games that they played. And then that championship game, I thought there was the ball was a little bit more sticky. I thought they were a little bit careless with it. But there just wasn't really a flow offensively. I thought Amari Bailey was fine. He had his moments, and then he didn't. He had his moments where you can tell. He's trying to get the rust off. But you definitely can tell where he can fit with them, and they can be. They can roll out some more wins, and and kind of get back on track. But I thought that championship game, I saw a lot more like stickiness with the ball. I didn't see much of a flow, especially with the half court game. And I thought they were just a little careless with it. And, Paul the Sixers, they just really capitalized off their mistakes.
Yeah. Deshaun Harris-Smith, great game for Paul the Sixth. He's a junior, 23 points. He made a lot of free throws. Paul the Sixth kept getting in the line. 34 free throws they made to Sierra Canyon's 9. Sophomore Darren Harris had 11. He was 8 for 8 from the line. So they just have a really good team. And we'll talk a little bit more about the teams in their conference a little later in the show. And for Mari Bailey had 18. Bronny had 13. And my take was that, when you have a team that talented, they have Mike Price, who's a junior.
Yeah.
They got Ramel Lloyd, who's going to Nebraska. He's a talented offensive player. Kajani Wright, going to USC. Kajani fouled out and didn't score. So
right.
Like him, you're not really getting the ball inside. They've had that problem before in other games that I've watched. They got so much perimeter talent, but at the end of the game, I'm noticing Bronny and Amari are doing all the heavy lifting, especially offensively. And it's like, well, wait a minute. In the Iolani tournament, Ramel Lloyd was doing the heavy lifting because Amari wasn't playing really. So, and
Paul the Sixth didn't have much size in the front court. So I was very surprised that they didn't try to beat him inside because Paul the Sixth didn't really have much front court depth.
Yeah, and then you got Isaiah Iholim, who just got eligible at the 30-day break or the 30-day transfer sit-out period in California, and like he's a top 5 talent in that. He's the best sophomore in California. So it's like he's only getting so many touches. So they got some wrinkles to iron out. They've done it before. Now, maybe they haven't done it with this quite as much perimeter talent. They have maybe a little bit more balance. But, Coach Andre Chevalier has done it before. So, like you said, I wouldn't put it past them that they can do it. But right now, it's a 2-horse race in California. Corona Centennial, you can't say much about them. And they're a public school. They're a top 5 school. I like that the Duncanville and Corona Centennial are in the top 5 because
I love it. I love it.
Everybody's always saying, "Oh, the IVCs there, they have all the good players." Well, wait, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, let's let it play out. And like you said, so Sierra Canyon does have some things to work on. It is very interesting. Again, the crowd, I know they want to see Bronny James, but he's taking a lot of shots, a lot of big shots, and it's like you got Bailey there, you got Iholim, and Iholim's not always in. Then you got Ramel Lloyd. Is he in? Who's gonna be on the court when it matters to win the big playoff games? That's what we're going to have to follow and see how that goes. And that's going to be very interesting because, again, I think they can figure it out. They've done it before. And like you said, it's probably a good problem to have. Like, who doesn't want to have that problem?
Right. It's easier to fix that problem than a problem of you lack talent.
Correct. So, that was very interesting. So like you said, Centennial goes up. And Sierra Canyon doesn't fall too far. So Link is up to number 6 now.
Yep.
Link is 24-0 as of this pod. So the first top 4 just all made sense. Sunrise Christian won 2 close games. And again, we've talked about that number 1 spot this year. It's been very, very, you get to number 1 and then boom, something happens. So Sunrise survived another week. They had 2 close games. And Wasatch Academy, which is unranked right now, but obviously has a lot of big game experience, they had a chance to beat them.
They did.
And just came up a little short. Willie Lightfoot, who previously played at Sunrise, shot a jumper and it was just off. But they could have been upset. But for now, they're number 1. They have the split with Montverde, Duncanville 2, IMG stays 3. They beat Montverde, who was 4. So that all made sense. They've beaten Montverde twice. And they've lost to Sunrise, meaning IMG, and they split with Oak Hill. So Oak Hill's now, like you said, Oak Hill's kind of been our up and down team we've talked about. Oak Hill had another up week. Oak Hill's coming in. They're playing well. So 6 is Link. 7 is Richardson. Again, beat Duncanville, and they keep getting closer and closer to them. Every week, they're just keep moving closer.
And they were in a close one tonight.
Wow.
They beat Lake Highlands, Richardson Lake Highlands by 1 point.
Wow. So that's on Tuesday night, just so you watch it. That was a Tuesday night game. So 50 number 7 Richardson, which is only lost to North Little Rock, escapes in district play. again, you're going to have games like that once in a while. That especially it just happens when you play in a conference or in a district. Number 8 would be Oak Hill, and Oak Hill beat La Lumiere. So they split with La Lumiere. They came back and beat them the second time. Then La Lumiere. Now this is just how crazy it is. La Lumiere beats AZ Compass Prep.
Yeah,
that's a big win for them. That really kind of elevated them. Obviously they split with Oak Hill and lost the second game, but they beat an AZ Compass Prep team that blew Oak Hill away. So again, we talk about Oak Hill, they've just been up and down,
Right, fluctuated.
I saw Oak Hill against AZ Compass Prep. I was like, wow, I haven't really ever seen Oak Hill play like this or lose like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so kudos to Steve Smith. He's been there for a long time, and he can get those guys going. And obviously it makes a real big difference, I think, when Chris Livingston's playing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Livingston, Judah Mintz.
Yeah.
And then, like guys like kid that's going to LSU.
Devin Reed, the wing.
He's been solid. Like, I think guys are just kind of starting to play their role and playing at a high level. So, like you said, like Oak Hill has been the most interesting group in the top 10. Because next week they could be in 15 because
they just we'll see what they have 7 losses, but they're so good they can play with anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Very interesting. So La Lumiere comes in at 9, Sierra Canyon 10, Calvary 11, Oak Hill beat Gonzaga. So Gonzaga went to stayed 12. Gonzaga had Gonzaga's a really good team. They're in that same league that Paul VI is, the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. But I just wanted to give people some update as we're shooting this pod. Gonzaga, I believe they lost. So Gonzaga on this evening dropped their second game. They dropped the game to Bishop McNamara, who jumped into the Fab 50 this week because they had previously beat in their conference play. Bishop McNamara had previously beat Paul VI. So McNamara came in at number 22. They were undefeated, and they just beat Gonzaga tonight. And as we talk about the wacky and crazy results and how every day it changes and things happen, that Paul VI lost tonight, so meaning Tuesday night as you listen to the pod probably later in the week. So it's just that conference is tough. It's kind of like the NIBC before everybody talks about the NIBC, but the WCAC with those guys, with Paul, with DeMatha, and they got and then they got St. John's, who's always good. And Gonzaga, it's like, between 5 or 6 of them, there's like always 3 or 4 of them that are nationally ranked. And it's hard to win on the road in that conference.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That conference, like you said, that conference was basically the NIBC, before the NIBC. Like you said.
In many respects, if you didn't follow it, like that's the kind of conference you want to be in. Obviously, NIBC is at a national level.
Absolutely.
And like you said, there seems to be really good balance. It's a big league. They have some more teams, Bishop Ironton, Good Counsel, and some other ones. But the top 4 or 5 are usually right in my rankings almost every year for the last 12 years. So they're really good. Wanted to move on as we talk about the rankings. Make sure to go check the complete list out, the updated rankings on ballislife.com. And we also want to remind you to, make sure to check out our store. Log on to shop.ballislife.com. Check out all the latest Ballislife lines and gear. And, you can check out all the podcasts we do on the .com as well. So stay logged in with us. And as we move to our next topic, kind of want to get a mid-season report, Ani. Wanted to, we're kind of at the halfway point of this 2021-2022 season. I just can't believe how fast this is going. I remember when COVID just started. I was like March of 2020, and it's like, what has happened since then? We're just plugging along. But wanted to get your take. A mid-season. Who are 5 guys that have really impressed you? And obviously, we're not talking about the top 5 players in the country. And like just 5 guys that's like they've really up their national value, up their stock, and it just played well.
Yeah, no. First I would go Judah. No, I'm sorry. That was yours. I almost stole one of yours. Scotty Middleton from Sunrise. I thought he's been fantastic. I think he's definitely up to start. Just his shot creation, scoring, competing on defense, and he's been a X factor for Sunrise this year. Talked about Keontae again, just the move. Like, I know how much of a jump it was for Keontae to move to Florida.
Sure.
And just, even though he's always been a 5-star kid, but to see him thrive in that atmosphere and just be comfortable and then play a role, just kind of see him in a different light. As you know, in high school, the previous years, he's just been the guy, right?
Sure.
And now you see him as one of the guys, but knows how to be the guy when it's needed.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of just up to stalking me as far as just his overall versatility. And be able to impact games in other ways.
Yeah, he was very good in that second half, and that was a 76-73 win over Montverde. IMG second win, so he had a good second half, and like you said earlier, he scored 17 points. So keep going.
Yeah, no, and you got Jordan Walsh, Link Year Prep. You know, been one of the lead guys, and they made a huge jump from the beginning of the year. You know, it's a first year program, and
sure.
You know, I think he's gone a lot better. Just you know, he's always been an athlete, but you kind of see some upside with the mid range game, the shooting. He's rebounding it at a high level. His motor, defensive versatility. You know, a guy that was like, you know, top 30, 40 kid. You know, he's getting, you know, he's moving up. I think he's definitely has earned the right to move up into a top 20 and maybe higher.
Wow.
Just in my opinion. And another one out of Link Year Prep is Terrace Reed. He's kind of grown on me. Just a Michigan commit, you know, a kid, you know, can finish in the paint, but his perimeter game's improved. Now, I mean, just really more the shooting. Like now, able to like pick and pop, hit the mid-range jumpers. He's really active as a rim protector. He's one of the better rim protectors I've seen in the country this year. And just kind of like his size, his mobility with his frame, and just, you know, his overall offense game. I think he's really improved, and I think he's done himself a lot of good. I was kind of skeptical at first when I first saw him, but then when they told me he was coming back from injury, you know, it made sense. But now kind of seeing that he's caught a groove, I'm really liking how he's been performing.
Gotcha. Yeah, those guys are playing pretty well and playing, you know, playing good. And especially, like you said, it's within the context of winning. Scotty Middleton, obviously on the number one team in the country right now, he's helping them out. You know, Jordan Walsh and Terrace Reed are on an undefeated team that is climbing high. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's great, and I like to see those guys. That's what we want. I mean, that's why we cover these guys. We want to see them do well and continue to improve. Obviously, we when things go wrong, we report it sometimes too. But it's nice to see things go right.
We want to see a lot more good than bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how about you? Which place has surprised you?
Yeah, let me go over my five guys. I'll take it out west. Start out west. Again, we talk about quality teams and players. Devin Williams is forward, 6'9" from Corona Centennial. He was always just kind of a lanky prospect with shot blocking ability, but now he has a face-up game. He can hit the three a little bit. He really impressed people at the Classic at Damien. Now, last year they had really 5 good prospects, right? Because Kylan Boswell was there.
Right.
And they have Jared McCain and Donovan Dent, who's a steal for the University of New Mexico.
Absolutely.
Really good.
Really, really good.
Like a top 100 player, like top 75, maybe top, like, Jesus, he's top 60. Like,
yeah, you going to talk about stock riser.
Yeah, he's awesome. Right. He's just playing really well. So back to Devin, like, I just thought for a while, like, he could be their best long-term prospect. And now he's finally starting to show that, you know, like, because he can defend. His timing on shot blocking is great. Again, and I would say a year and a half ago, he was the weakest high school player of those 5 guys. Now, obviously, Kylan's moved on, but you know, but they're still rolling. They're a top 5 team, and Devin's a big reason why. Jared McCain's a big reason why. I just think he's made the big jump. He's finally becoming more of a player than just a long-term prospect, you know, and he showed that at Damien and a few other events. The next guy I wanted to mention was a 224. He's coming off a terrific performance at Hoophall, Ian Jackson of Cardinal Hayes. They're still undefeated. They had a big win at Hoophall, and they beat De La Salle of Chicago. I mean, they should beat De La Salle Chicago. I think he had about 30 points, just all over the place. He can play on the perimeter, grabs rebounds. He's a good decision maker. And I saw him at the Pangos Fresh Soft Camps. He was one of the better ones at the All East camp. And I think he made a big impact on that 16 and under Team USA team, last August. So Ian, props to him. He's playing well. Cardinal Hayes is playing well, and he's a big reason why. I wanted to talk a little bit about Judah Mintz. You kind of mentioned him.
The one I almost stole from you.
It's okay if you steal it from me. I have no problem with that because he deserves mention. Coach Steve Turner at Gonzaga. He used to play at Gonzaga. Again, we're talking about the Washington Athletic Conference, and he said, Ronnie, he's really good. He's like, I don't know if he's going to make McDonald's. But he might be coming for you. This is Coach Turner talking about it, but he should really have a chance, and I agree with him, man. I saw him in the fall. He came out to the border league and he was just gutting it out. He gets downhill, gets by guys, plays defense, makes plays, and he's just tough. He keeps getting better, and as the game goes, he gets better. Like in big moments, he kind of reminds me of Nigel Williams-Goss, who played at Finley. Washington. How he got in bigger moments, he got better, or you can rely on him. He's a kind of guard that you can rely on in nut crunching moments. So that's what I like about Judah. Really defends, is a team player. In similar respects, again, he's a different type of player, but I like Layden Blocker. Go back to Sunrise Christian. He had a really big weekend. He's a point guard on that team for Coach Luke Barnwell for the #1 team in the country, and I just think he's playing really well. As a junior, is really kind of making a name for himself. Obviously, he came from a place where his previous high school he had to score and do a lot more, maybe. And this team, he has to find a role with Grady Dick and Mark Williams and those guys. He's not going to be scoring 25 points a game,
right?
He doesn't need to, and he's thriving in that role again. And that's why guys go to schools like that in that conference, because they're going to play big time teams every night, as they showed, and they came away with 2 wins, and he played a big role. So I look forward to seeing Layden more. Obviously, I saw him at Pangos camp. I've seen him at a few other events, but I'm looking forward to see how high he can rise in that 23 class. And then my last guy, I'll go back to 24. Guy you are probably familiar with. Obviously, we're familiar with his family, is Victorious Miller from Crean Lutheran.
Yeah.
He was at a prep school as a freshman, and he came over to Crean Lutheran, which is in the southern section of the CIF and in Irvine and Orange County, and he's having a great season. They've only lost 1 game. They're plugging at the Fab 50 door. Crean Lutheran, and as of the last update, is 15-1. They're gonna play Corona Centennial coming up for the second time, so that should be a good test against those guards and that they have. And Victorious is about 6'4", 6'5", lead guard. Boy, he is really coming on. He's just in the right spot. Like, it's nothing wrong with him being at AOSS prep where he was before, but like nobody was seeing him and nobody was talking about him. And it's like now he's at Crean Lutheran. He's going to be likely in a big playoff games coming up here in February. So he'll get a chance to really show what he can do, and he already has. He plays with UCSB bound Coach Keat, who's a forward, and Coate's playing well. They played well at Tarkanian. They won their division, and they continue to play well. He has a good backcourt mate in 224 guard Daryl Morris, who's a spark plug, 5'9", 5'10". Daryl is a big. Daryl's been around. Like, he's played in middle school events. I've known Daryl since he's probably 6 years old. Always in the gym, and he's always trying to get better, and he is getting better. So props to Daryl Morris, and that's what makes Victoria such a good prospect, is his ability, but he's also 6'4", 6'5". So wanted to kind of mention that as we talk about younger players. I updated my Cal High Sports rankings for that all classes. So you can catch that at CalHighSports.com. But I have Victorious right now, number 2, behind Isaiah Ihulim, who's in a different situation.
Right.
Situation.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have the keys to the
car yet, right?
The way Victorious does. Different situation, but he's a tremendous off guard, smooth, never gets sped up. Isaiah, I mean, this fall he was really good against Oak Hill. I don't know if you saw that game at the Border League on TV, but he played really well.
Yeah, he played really well.
He kept them in that game. So
he did. And his voice and just everything. Like he was very, very good that game.
Yeah. He showed why he's a top 5 player. So, and I have Jamari Phillips right up there from Modesto Christian. They played on that Paul George 15 and under with James Evans, another 224 prospect. He played with Isaiah. They have a really good team that they played with. So those guys are good. Again, we'll see how that class shakes out. I mean, we got Ian Jackson. We got Isaiah. There's other guys that we got. The guy who had at Montverde, who was kind of like the freshman of the year last year at St. Francis Academy, Derek Queen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I said, he's in a different boat. He's coming off the bench. He's biding his time. So everybody's not in the same situation. So to that point, Victorious is in a good situation for him. This has really helped him. So I'm happy for him. And obviously when we mentioned his family, his dad is rapper Silk the Shocker.
Right.
His uncle is not just a rapper. He's a mogul, Master P, who's
right.
Miller, who's had sons who played in Southern California. And we always like to see Master P in the gym. He's real quiet. He doesn't say too much.
He's very to himself, but he's definitely a dad.
He's a dad. He has a good time, and I think his son now. I saw his son in the fall. His son just transferred to Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Mercy.
It's funny. My good friend of mine coached Romeo at Windward High School in about 2007, 2008. So that was a very interesting experience. But he coached Romeo for a couple years, and obviously, Romeo was a pretty good player back then. But Mercy probably has a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, I got to see Mercy and Victorious in the summer, and both really, really talented.
They're talented guys. Obviously, Victorious probably a little ahead of Mercy right now. No way. I mean, Mercy could be good too.
Victorious is just that good.
Correct. We're not trying to down Mercy at any point. We're just saying Victorious has a chance to be really good. So, that's very interesting. And I tell people, they're like, some people don't know who Master P is. They're like, too much. Remember, I'm like, dude, I'm like, that guy has $300 million in the bank. Like, don't even worry about it.
He got so much money he can't even count it.
He's not even. Like, because, it's funny because you see rockers. I'll tell you a funny story. You see rockers or, like, guys that, don't like rap music, and they kind of sometimes think that, rappers don't make much money. Like, rappers, but they know, Puff Daddy and, a few guys make a lot of money. Like, certain rappers have really made a lot of money.
Yeah.
As some of your favorite artists, they're not all that rich. You know what I mean? Like, they're good artists. They have good music, but it doesn't necessarily translate into sales across the board in other venues. But Master P, I tell people, dude, that guy made a lot of money. So it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny how that works out. Because he used to go and watch DeMar when DeMar was at Compton High all the time, and he was just very low key. He would just always ask, "What does DeMar got?" Oh, he has 18. What does DeMar got? Yeah, he's 28. Whatever. So he was supporting, and like you said, not too boisterous or flamboyant, just having a good time. So
absolutely, yeah.
Kudos to Victorious and Mercy and the rest of the family. So as we close out this episode, obviously we got a big part of the high school season coming up. Everybody that's always interested, the most branded thing in high school basketball, the McDonald's All-American game. Now, Ani, it's obviously people have a lot of opinions about McDonald's All-American because there's only 24 spots, and every year it could be,
people have opinions on the nominees. It's just on the nominees alone.
It's funny when you talk about the nominees. It's I treated it before. I know other people treated before how to get nominated, and parents just still go crazy on
man, I got so many calls when the nomination went out, and I'm
it's God dang it. Yeah, because you're just, there's 800 of them or whatever it is, 12, and it's like, there's 50 guys that have a chance to make this game.
Right.
And then you cut it down to 30 or whatever. So, it's so brand. It's been around since 1977. The first game was played in 1978. I don't know if you knew this, Ani, but the first game in 1977, Magic was part of that team with Albert King, who was a Bernard King's brother, and King Banks, and who was a great high school player in Philly. And they didn't play in a game per se. They played the Capital Classic All-Stars at the Capital Classic. So there was a McDonald's team of 15 guys, and that 15 played the 15 guys in the Capital Classic. So then the next year, my buddy Bob Gagan decided to say, let's take this national. Let's have an East-West type of format. So that's how it grew. And the first game was at the Spectrum in 1978, and it's been around ever since. So wanted to get your take. What's kind of your favorite memory of McDonald's growing up? Obviously, you're younger than me, but obviously you've seen it. I know you watched it before, as a kid, and when you were getting to learn about basketball. What did you see? What's your fondest memory?
So my first one I ever watched was in 2003. LeBron James. He had like 27 points. That made me. I'll tell you what. I know I'm going off.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go off on a beaten tangent. Yeah.
Right. Like, I fell in love with basketball when I watched the Houston Rockets at 5 years old. Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, I saw Hakeem and I just loved it. Obviously, I'm Nigerian. He's Nigerian. And so that's why fell in love with basketball. Yeah. I fell in love with that McDonald's All-American game when I saw LeBron James.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It was a big, it was at Gund Arena. Obviously, it was in Cleveland. That was smart. Obviously, McDonald's does that. Sometimes they go where there's going to be a big attraction. You know what I mean? And I can see that. He was a trendsetter, man. He was big. I'll go off the beaten path a little bit here too. Because we argue about this, with people sometimes on text and on Twitter and shit like that. And it's like, they're like, oh, these guys like Mikey Williams and LaMelo, they're so much bigger than the guys who are. I'm like, dude, LeBron was huge. Like, he was on cover mags. He was what is your kind of recollection from what you remember of that? Obviously, you're pretty young. Do you think those guys have a chance, like they were as big, or do you think
LeBron, like, no offense to those, like, Mikey Williams, LeBron was on, like you said, magazines, like national TV, like main networks were talking about LeBron James as the next one. It's a little different, right? Like, could you imagine LeBron James with an Instagram in high school, right? Or a Twitter? Like, there was no Instagram and Twitter, no social media, really. And he was as big as he was. And I would even say they were as big as him. Like, I remember just leading up to that game, the slam dunk competition, everything was about LeBron. And I was all for it.
At your time, you were like, "This is awesome. This guy's awesome." Yeah.
And he backed it up. He really backed it up as, the next one. Obviously, his career is what it is, and now you argue if he's the greatest player of all time. But it's I would say those, like Mike and them, were really big. And we like we talked about last episode with the NIL money that and all that. But LeBron was like. It's different when you're a hero.
He wasn't really like a high school star. He was already a celebrity in their respects. Yeah, he wasn't. He'd already transcended the high school part. He was already part of, I guess, American culture a little bit, you could say. He was already part of, like, the American fabric. I'm not really sure the high school players were after, Sebastian was a little bit. Sebastian Telfair was kind of piggybacked that a little bit. You had some other stars. OJ Mayo, pretty big
early on.
He was pretty big. He played in the front of a lot of people in a lot of different towns. So you have some guys, but it's a little different feel. I think when you talk about a guys like Mallow or Mikey Williams, they're kind of more like, I hate this, maybe this is not a great analogy. They're more like Miley Cyrus, where it's like, or that type of celebrity where LeBron is like just a celebrity, no different than not an A-list.
He was like an A, like he was like
an A-B celebrity, like not an A-list celebrity. He's not Madonna or Jay-Z, but he was like in that second tier already to me.
Right.
People already knew him all over the place. My mom knew him. My sisters knew him. You know, he was everywhere. So
yeah, he made ESPN tickers and everything like that.
Yeah. His games were reviewed every night on the Sports Center when Sports Center was a lot more popular than it is now. And now maybe Sports Center is not as popular because there's more options, but you turned on Sports Center, you can see or hear about what LeBron was doing on just a regular high school game, which is not happening now.
No. And I know they got ESPN Next now, but
it's more niche. It's more niche. So very interesting take. Yeah, that's an interesting take. I would say for me, that memory is kind of a mirror, and that's not the first game I followed and saw, but in 1991, the game was in Springfield, Mass. And the Fab Five, four of them played everybody but Ray Jackson. So Jimmy King, Jay Linjuan, and Chris Webber. And again, sometimes you need some perspective from somebody else. So what I mean by that is like, I tell my family, my family doesn't like high school basketball like that.
Yeah, same here.
Grow up like that. And I was kind of self-taught. I had other mentors and other ways I learned about the game. My dad and other people around me didn't know basketball like that. So sometimes you need some input from somebody else. So I only tell family members, I told them to go watch LeBron. I said, guys, you want to watch LeBron when he comes to LA. I told them to watch OJ Mayo. And I told them to watch a few other guys, Jason Kidd maybe. But my cousin was like, he would like to go see a big game with me once in a while, right? And he likes basketball, but he's not in the high school space. And he's like, dude, he just said it out of the blue. He's like, I think Michigan could go to the Final Four next year with these guys. And I'm like,
wow.
Whatever. Yeah. He's like, dude, these guys are really good. I was like, yeah, they're good. Especially Chris Webber. He was a man, like probably 6'9", 240, maybe 235, just big. A lot of guys in that game seemed really just like ready. Glenn Robinson was ready. He was a future number one pick. James Forrest, who went to Georgia Tech, was like a man-child. There was a few other guys that were very good, and there's a lot of good fours at that time in that game. Donyell Marshall, Sharon Wright, who went to Clemson.
Yeah.
But so he just kind of said that out of the blue, like, dude, these guys are going to be real good. So we followed him. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get behind these dudes. Like, I like them. They're, I go, Howard's a top 10 guy. Rose, top 10 guy. I go, that's pretty interesting. Jimmy King's a top 25 guy. And I go, they have another guy, Ray Jackson. He's like a top 75 guy. So then, dude, it just happened. Like, and they became the biggest thing since, like, you can think of in college basketball. Because basically at that time, what happened for guys on the West Coast is UCLA wasn't that good. So we all loved UNLV. Like everybody, if you like basketball,
around that time, for sure.
So Tark was kind of, we didn't know all the back detailings as young guys, but like Tark was being pushed out a bit, and like he was close to retirement. So like everybody went straight from UNLV to straight to the Fab Five. It was like a perfect, just I guess like a road or if you like UNLV, you like the Fab Five, and if you like the Fab Five, you most likely didn't like Duke, but you appreciated them now. But like you didn't like Duke, like
polar opposites.
Yeah, it's like you can understand Duke, but like they're really good. So I mean, you learn to appreciate them. So that's kind of the memory I seen some games before that one. I saw those Sean Kemp one and a few other ones. There were some big moments. Shaq had some big moments. Dickie V's going crazy on TV. But that's kind of the one memory I look forward to. So going back forward to this year, give me one player out of you think will make the game that you probably didn't think was going to make it at the end of last summer or at the start of this year.
We'll go back to a player that's really impressed me, and that was Jordan Walsh. Okay. I thought he would be in the outside looking in.
Okay.
And I'm feeling pretty good about him. I mean, obviously it could change, but I know he was kind of last summer. He wasn't someone that was like a no-brainer. I think he was kind of teetering on the outside looking in.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I see. ESPN has them seventh. Obviously, going to Arkansas. So I mean, yeah, I can see that.
The other rankings just had them like.
Yeah.
That's why it was like such a. You just didn't really know.
A big wide range of selection, and I like I said, I like what Faith Family's doing this year, and they cracked the Fab 50 this week. Oak Cliff Lake Family with their squad. We've talked about them before, and I'm like, that's a good situation. I'm like, because people were asking me, they were coming to Target. I said, no, Faith Family's still good, guys. They're still good.
They're still very good.
Yeah, like they're still very good. And they're like, they were just kind of wondering, and I was like, yeah, I wonder what George Walsh, why this move. I know he was going to go to SoCal Academy, and then he went to Link, but it seems to work well. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see if he makes the game. So just so you guys know, the game for this year, and it's a lot of excitement on it because the game hasn't been played in 2 years. The game didn't take place in 220. It didn't take place in 221.
Right.
A team was named, but not an actual game. So it's going to be a lot of excitement around this year's McDonald's game. I think the most excitement in a while. And the game will be announced on January 25th. The participants, that is, the 24 participants on NBA Today, which I believe is on one of the ESPN channels between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern time. So once again, that's at the 25th of January on NBA Today between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, that's a very interesting, and that's a big moment for a lot of kids. I've talked to a lot of kids, and I get phone calls once in a while. Ronnie, do you think this kid's gonna make it? Or sometimes, to be completely honest with you, Ani, it's the father. Be like, do you think my kid's gonna make it? This here happens here and there. I'm sure it's gonna happen to you if it hasn't already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened.
They're just trying to keep it a private conversation. So I get it. It's like they just want the best for their kid. Who doesn't want the best for their kid? Absolutely. And that's the game that everybody knows. But this year's a little interesting because there's so many variables. Like, what I mean by that is some people like, I'm just thinking like the guards. Some people like, we got a group of guards, a group of forwards, and Dior Johnson. Like, but I'm looking at him like, okay, are people going to vote? Like, he's at this school, he left to this school, he's at SoCal now, he's at Prolific. Like, is he going to be on the, like, is he on the final ballot? Obviously, the ballots are probably being turned in pretty close because we're about a week out.
Right.
Like, is Amari Bailey going to make it? Like, he's played, 5 games now. The 3 games at Bass Pro and 2 games earlier. So that's 2 spots where it's like, those are 2 big spots. You know what I mean? Like, some other guards are thinking, am I going to be in? Like,
like the Arteria Morrises. I mean, just, those guys that are ranked higher. Or, I mean, you just got to, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of guys that moved to different schools, how that potentially impacted, their chances and everything. And that's why, I've been getting a decent amount of calls, and I know you probably have too, just on who's going to get in.
Yeah, because this year you got about 3 or 4 guys that either they haven't played much this season or they've been moving so much you don't really know. Like, it's not like, and then you got COVID, so it's not like they all played 15 games at a high school already going into this announcement. It's like you have these few outliers that are like, is he going to be on, or like, did he play enough? There's a few of them, so, like.
Yeah, Anthony Black. I mean, that was those, him going through it, his stuff. Like, there was questions early on before he played. Like, is he going to be able to make the McDonald's game?
Correct. Or is that going to be looked at as a factor? Like, he hasn't played in all the games, but again, obviously, it goes a lot into what you do as a junior and what you do in the summer. But still, even if it's just 3 or 4 players that are under some question, that opens up 3 or 4 spots. So we'll be interesting to see. We'll have more about it, obviously, on our next pod. The announcement will be out, and people will have a lot to say. We'll try to have a little bit of breakdown of it, and we'll talk a little bit more about McDonald's and just some of the things that have transpired over the years. But I think for now that'll wrap us up. We appreciate everybody tuning in to the In the Paint Show presented by Ballislife. You know, episode 112. We always thank you guys for tuning in and for being on the pod and listening all the way through it. Again, make sure to check out ballslife.com for the rankings, for stories, or other podcasts, other things that people are doing. Again, check out the shop. Make sure to sign up sign up for notifications, hit the like button, let us know what you think. We really appreciate it. But for now, Ronnie and Ani are logging off.
Peace.